Well, good evening and welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ plus daily evening television news. We're broadcasting live and then available on demand. And we're available on all smart televisions, including Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, Amazon Fire TV, YouTube, and Facebook. It's time to queer up the news. It's Monday, August 21st, 2023. We're live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we're going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight with Al Ferguson.
I'm your anchor at Queer News Tonight, Al Ferguson, and this evening we bring you the news of and a perspective representing the LGBTQ plus community from South Florida, America, and across our planet.
This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ plus evening news show. Whatever happens unique in LGBTQ plus news, you will see it and hear it.
Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, is a nonprofit 501c3 media company in the same model of PBS and NPR, but designed for the LGBTQ plus community. Our mission is to support the 10 pillars of our LGBTQ plus community. We want to inform and educate the key issues of our Black community, Latino, lesbian and queer women, trans, student youth, seniors, HIV/AIDS, healthcare, business, social justice, and faith. Help us support our community.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ plus media companies in America, Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network. Our magazine is celebrating 38 years of the LGBTQ plus experience in our television news, talk, and entertainment, shows and supporting our mission in educating the LGBTQ and broader community.
Well, let's welcome anchor FayWhat. She is a radio and television personality and is the host of the FayWhat Show, the first LGBTQ plus morning program Mondays at 9 a.m. and then on demand on all streaming and social media platforms. She's also a hostess and MC for many South Florida events. Welcome, Faye.
In the Gay Agenda, South Florida, the Black Market presents Goth Homecoming, hosted by Auntie Maim, September 9th. The Black Market presents Goth Homecoming on Saturday, September 9th from 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. at Revolution Live. The Black Market is Florida's famous alternative flea market. This is an 18 and up event and will feature live performances by New Dawn, Fades, Ordinary Boys, A Starry Night, Blood Orchid, Obsidian, Laboratory, Jessica Who, DJ Dino, and Linder Smash. It has lined up drag shows by Alice D, Angelique Vanitas, Apollo Infinity, and La the King. Burlesque will be on the show by Sin Silva, Damian Lenore, Val Vampire, and Frank Campisiano. The event will be hosted by Yoko Oso, Party Carlos, and Auntie Maim. The event has over 50 vendors of different items. There's a $1,000 prize for Homecoming King and Queen. Food, drinks, goth karaoke, and photo areas will be available. Tickets to the event start at $15. For more information, visit the Black Market MIA on Instagram.
Let's welcome anchor Jamaal L. Starks. His South Florida professional name is Porcelain. He is Vice President of Impulse Group Chapter Miami, part of a global organization that helps connect gay and queer men. He is also a spiritualist and model. Welcome, Jamaal.
In the Gay Agenda, South Florida, we meet at Mary's Speed Dating, September 6th. Hamburger Mary's of Fort Lauderdale presents a fun-filled evening of speed dating event called We Meet at Mary's. The event will take place at Mary's on September 6th at 7 p.m. and will be hosted by Prince Trilla with music by DJ Eric Restivo. After the event, you'll have the opportunity to indicate who you'd like to see again. If there's a mutual interest, they'll provide you with each other's contact information. All the proceeds of the event will go to Flockfest. General admission starts at $15 online and $20 at the door. For further information and ticket purchases, visit facebook.com/Hamburger Mary's Wilton Manors.
Let's welcome Lorenzo Davis. He's an activist who works in community transformation and upliftment, apart from being an author, filmmaker, and neo-soul artist. Welcome, Lorenzo.
In the Gay Agenda South Florida, front runner in the Walker's Rapids Water Park, social September 9th. Front runner in Walker's Fort Lauderdale holds a rapid water park social on September 9th. Meet at 9:45 a.m. at the Pride Center for Carpooling, or 11 a.m. at the Water Rapids Park. The organizer is a group of people who enjoy running and walking. The price will be around $40 per person, and you'll be able to participate in social by filling out a form which is available on the Facebook page created for this event. Because the admission prices will most likely fall at the beginning of September, when you complete the given form, they will send you an email with the discount code and purchase link after September 4th.
We are the reporters for Queer News Tonight, and this evening we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ+ community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast, and here are the bullet points of the queer news for today, Monday, August 21st. Well, let's begin by queering up education. Sunserve holds back-to-school carnival at Queer Church in the shadow of Governor DeSantis. Something very unique happened this week, and it wasn't that students were getting ready for the first day of school. It was how the LGBTQ+ community supported the return of students back to school. Sunserve organized an old-fashioned back-to-school carnival on Friday. It was unusual in that it was the only back-to-school event like it in all of South Florida, because it was presented by the LGBTQ+ and allied community. In an environment of Don't Say Gay and the attacks on gender and identity experiences in schools, the carnival was an incredibly positive event, attended by hundreds of children and their parents. Also unique was the carnival was held in the parking lot of Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest progressive queer church. Organized by Sunserve's Development and Community Engagement Coordinator, Keith Premer, it was very clear the goal was to have LGBTQ+ community interaction with students and parents. John Marler, Sunserve's Director of Communications, added in the community message, quote, "The event promotes understanding, acceptance, and awareness," end quote. The carnival included engaging activities, lots of food, fun, amusement rides, free backpacks for all of the kids, and school supplies. Sunserve therapists and life coaches were available for what they described as life assistance, mental health care, education, and more. Most of the children present were preschool and elementary school age. What wasn't present was any of the politics that had become so commonplace with the intersection of LGBTQ+ and school children. What was also noticeable was a police presence. There were 3 Fort Lauderdale police cars on site, and officers did interact with the carnival participants, especially the children. We're happy to report there were no reported incidents. The event had many sponsors participating, including AHF, Hoff's House of Sweets, Papa John's Pizza, Sylvester Comprehensive Cancer Center, and many of Broward and South Florida's principal organizations. Well, it was interesting to me. I attended, had a really good time. It's been a long time since I interacted with that many children. It was strange. It felt strange.
Why?
Because in what I've watched over the last year and a half, 2 years, to have LGBT and a church, of a queer church like Sunserve, or Sunshine, Sunserve's delivery having a queer nod to back to school was strange for me. But in that strangeness, that went away pretty quickly. I thought, my goodness, the ingenuity and the creative thought behind this was really genius, because it interacted exactly what is the story that we should be telling, which is the story he and the radicals are telling is not true. We not only want to say gay, there's absolutely no reason why there can't be interaction with the classrooms, teachers, our school boards, and the LGBTQ community. And they proved it in spades.
And my hat's off. My hat's off to Sunserve. My hat's off to Sunshine Cathedral, where we are now. That's just so beautiful, and nobody else had the, I don't want to say the balls, but
you did.
but the gall to pull off something, because it's been in the back of my mind before school has come up, like, what can we do? What can we do? And I think all of us have sat with that question, like, what can we do for the kids? And what can we do in this climate? But in this political climate, it has scared us so much that, you know, there hasn't, as we've reported, this was the only one of its kind.
Yeah.
And it was so beautifully pulled off in a church parking lot.
Isn't that beautiful?
That's gorgeous.
Look, and here's the thing, like, adults are effing up the world, okay? Adults are effing up the world. And these kids are dealing with adult issues that they should never have had to deal with, all right? Don't say gay threw them into the forefront of politics. Kids don't even vote, okay? And they've got to deal with all this crap. So the beautiful thing about this Sunserve event was that you let the kids be kids, right? And for an afternoon, they got to ride rides. I saw you guys on the little kid rides and eating cotton candy and Hoff's House of Sweets. I love you guys. You know, like, what a wonderful event to let the kids be kids, Al. Because today they had to go to freaking school and be dead named. And their teacher who was gay was not allowed to put a picture of their family up. And that's the reality of going to school and being bullied and being targeted because you're LGBTQ+. But for an afternoon, the parent didn't have to worry about that, and the kid got to be a kid.
Yeah. And school supplies. It was interesting. Hoffman's Chocolates, based in Palm Beach, they had this van, and Sunserve had arranged of asking them to participate. And they came in, and the carnival had been going on for about 30 minutes or so. And that van came into the parking lot, and people started clapping. So they knew what Hoffman's meant in terms of both ice cream and chocolates. You know, another interesting moment for me there, I was with John Hayden from out South Florida. He was covering it also. What was interesting is I felt uncomfortable taking pictures. And I felt uncomfortable because there were parents with multiples of children, and they had their children with them. And I would politely say, may I take a picture? And I ask 100% of the time, and you know me, Faye, I don't do that. I just take the picture. But in that instance, I did. Not one single parent said anything negative, of course, and embraced taking pictures for the event. Your point is true. The issue that we've watched for the last 2 years is created by a radical minority, and they've been successful in selling the message. And I congratulate especially Sunserve and this community events coordinator and Jamaal and Tony Lima. I congratulate Sunserve because it is the absolute best way to fight the hate of radical minority. Congratulations to them.
Now if we can just come up with a few more genius ideas. Next, let's queer up politics. Key West drag queen Erika Rose runs for office to unseat Republican state representative. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has positioned himself as an unapologetic culture warrior by attacking LGBTQ inclusive education and whining about the woke left. The Republican presidential hopeful's zealous drive to roll back protections for trans and queer folks in Florida has turned the state into a breeding ground for right-wing policies. It's a political arena that Michael Travis, who performs as the fabulous Erika Rose, is navigating as she tries to unseat incumbent state representative Jim Mooney, a two-term Republican who represents Florida's House District 120 in Key West. If she wins, Rose could become the first openly performing drag queen in the history of Florida's state legislature. She tells Pink News that Florida politics must be truly absurd if a drag queen is running for office. Rose decided to run for office after traveling to the state capitol in Tallahassee among hundreds of other performers and LGBTQ plus advocates to protest against Florida's anti-drag bill, SB 1438, in April. Erika Rose says Florida politicians have ignored the real issues residents face, including housing market troubles, the reef system dying, and reassuring LGBTQ plus tourists it's safe to visit the state despite this hostility. Rather, they are using their time to attack drag queens and trans folk. Oh, Erika, what a breath of fresh air. I'm loving all of these stories. And me and Faye talk. Usually drag queens run away from politics. And like she said, Florida politics must be observed if you have a drag queen running into politics in order to save our state.
But you know what? I don't want to downplay that. And I don't want to call it absurd that she's running, okay? I don't think it's absurd that a drag queen is running, all right? Drag queen and trans women have been at the forefront of every single protest that we've done since the beginning of time.
Exactly.
So, you know, Scott Galvin, right? Our friend from Safe Schools, right? He told her if she needs any help, he will help her. Okay. He will help guide her. She's got some really good people in her corner. All right. So let's not just say it's absurd and you have no chance of winning. Hey, listen, there is no boundaries to what an LGBTQ plus person can do, Miss Rose. All right. Gets to step in, get the people you need, gets those votes and get this fool out of office. What a wonderful thing to have one of our own as the first drag person in the state legislature. That would be incredible.
You know, a couple of thoughts from my seat. First off, you talk about absurd, and you talk about absurd. You know what is absurd in this story, and I didn't know it until Erika Rose announces running, that there was a two-time Republican representing the city of Key West.
Right.
That's what's
Weird,
absurd.
right? That's true.
So if we're going to talk about absurd, let's talk about that. Key West is one of the most progressive, I'm not saying gay, is one of the most progressive communities in America.
Yeah.
They deserve better than a two-time Republican Jim Mooney representing House Seat 120 in Key West. Now we're keeping our eye on Key West and House Seat 120, which we're probably going to talk about now a dozen times at Queer News Tonight between now and next November. That's what's absurd. The other thing that I think is interesting, I have absolutely no idea what the policies of drag queen Erika Rose are and what she is going to say in terms of how she is going to represent Key West and contrast to Representative Jim Mooney. But that doesn't matter. What really matters is representation. Representation matters. The mere fact that the drag queen Erika Rose is running in Key West says, wait, things have gotten so strange, we're going to have to elevate our conversation in an entirely different way. Bing, that's exactly what she does. And I think the conversation and the added voice of a drag queen in Key West is the perfect opportunity to do that, to challenge this Representative Jim Mooney. And maybe there are other people, other Democrats that are running that will that Erika Rose will get support from, or she will support to secure that seat. One other last thing that I think is really beautiful, when we talk about activism and the value of activism, this story is all about that.
Yeah.
Because Erika Rose says, and I compliment all of the people that were participated in the drag march on Tallahassee. Faye and I that night showed the video of them chanting in the hall of the Capitol about DeSantis has got to go. This is motivated by Erika Rose traveling on a bus for 15 hours to get to the Capitol, to do that drag march into the Capitol, to say enough is enough. To all of my friends on Wilton Drive, the privileged white gay guy voice that says, oh, what can we do? This drag queen did it. And it should be motivating to us that activism can come in all kinds of ways as long as we make the commitment to do it. And that's what Erika Rose did. Girl, we're cheering you on.
Yes, we are. Next, let's queer up lesbian culture. Aqua Foundation holds conference about breaking the stigma on HIV/AIDS for lesbian, queer, and trans women. It's June 1981, and the first reporting begins on a mysterious new gay healthcare crisis is starting to be whispered about. It was what would later be called AIDS. In no time in LGBTQ plus history has our community faced a medical, emotional, and societal challenge like it. One of the common reports of the last 42 years of HIV/AIDS is shame of those who have it and those in our society on their attitudes towards those who have HIV/AIDS. It's called stigma. The Aqua Foundation for Women hosted a conference on Saturday called Break the Stigma, an HIV/AIDS conference for women and femmes. The day-long event had workshops, speakers, panel discussions, and more for lesbian and queer women, trans women, and allies. The program talked about the health consequences, especially the mental health aspects of today's HIV. Moderated by Aqua Executive Director Mateo Ventura Brewer, panelists included Sunserve Director of Women and Trans Services, Misty Eyes, LGBTQ plus activist LaTanya Hobson, and a whole lot more. The large crowd for the conference was held at the Happening Out television studios on the campus of Sunshine Cathedral.
Aqua Foundation!
It's crazy how all these years later that stigma still runs true, right? And even in our community, we've got so many issues going on inside our community, right? But events like this, thank you to the Aqua Foundation for doing this. Thank you to Sunshine Cathedral again for hosting such an incredible event. You know, women are women, period, right? You're a trans woman, you're a queer woman, you're a lesbian woman, you are a woman. But the reality is that not all women feel that way, right? And events like this will help educate the women that are far behind the times, that are not living in 2023, where people are living and thriving with HIV/AIDS. All the same education that maybe you learned back in the 80s doesn't even exist anymore. There are so many new things that have happened, and you know, people need to get educated about it. So I think that this conference was so important. I love that they had LaTanya. LaTanya is a leading voice when it comes to lesbian and BIPOC community. She is just an incredible person. Misty Eyes, that, you know, is a friend of our network and does so much for women's and trans issues. They had Deidre Murhead, that is another cisgender incredible woman on the panel. They had Taylor Patton, that also kicked booty. I mean, these women were just doing the damn thing. They were educating the masses, and people were here for it. I'm so looking forward to more of these events. There's one happening in North Miami at the Scott Galvin Center next month that I'll be TransCon that I'll be at as well. And we need more of these. We just do.
And in a time where HIV and AIDS and most of the talk around medical care centers so many gay cis men, this is a beautiful, beautiful opening of the conversation that it not only affects gay men, people, it affects women as well. And we can get on board with progressive education around this.
You know, I want to piggyback on that observation. You as a black gay man, white gay men say the exact same thing. It's the exact same observation on both sides of race. Wait, HIV/AIDS is about gay men. Now, I went to the event, and boy, did I learn a lot. Gay man directly affected in the 80s. I'm negative. But it talks about stigma, and it talks about the guilt, survivor's guilt of not transacting HIV and AIDS. It's such an interesting perspective because it suggests why women were so particularly vulnerable. First off, women are really involved in this story because for the lion's share of the 90s, women, and especially lesbian women, were the healthcare providers of those that had AIDS. When people were afraid to be in the same room and to touch, it was women that really took the leading role. And there were so many beautiful stories told about that. The other thing that I think is really interesting is they talked about how women were really harmed in so many different ways. The church said, no, you don't have to wear a condom. And women became vulnerable to AIDS and then into HIV because they were coached to not use a condom. And today they're coached not to be on PrEP, which is completely antithetical because you don't know what the male component
It's doing, yeah, yeah.
relationship.
No idea.
And it is an example of the misogyny that our society has in spreading HIV in the women's community. And really, I thought that was a beautiful message. And the other thing that was really super interesting to me is Aqua Foundation for Women is so critically important for our LGBTQ community. First, they're the only nonprofit in Florida that focuses on the women's voice of the LGBTQ plus community. The participants in it were straight women, were lesbians, were identified as queer women. They were trans women. There were various representations of color, Latino, Black, white, Caribbean representation, all under women and femme. And I think really, really important that we give kudos, and at every opportunity we hold up organizations like Aqua Foundation for Women because they are so incredibly needed. A male-centric organization talking about stigma for HIV and AIDS is different than women talking about it.
Completely.
I can't do it.
Completely. And the leader is a man who speaks for women, okay, and has never been spoken that, like, Aqua Foundation for me has never spoken to more women than it has now. Right now, at this time, with a man at the helm.
That's
interesting enough.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, that is amazing.
So great job, Mateo.
Great job.
Yeah, excellent.
Next, let's clear up business. Woman who owns clothing shop in California shot over pride flag. A woman owns a clothing store in California was shot and killed by a man who made derogatory comments about the pride flag hanging outside her business. The fatal shooting happened in Lake Arrowhead, California. The law enforcement saying the suspect shot the shop owner, Laura Carlton, because he didn't like the rainbow flag outside her clothing store. Laura owns the Magpie store in Lake Arrowhead in another studio city, and she's been a top fashion designer in Los Angeles for decades. The San Bernardinos County Sheriff says deputies arrived at the scene of the shooting to find Laura suffering from a gunshot wound, and paramedics pronounced her dead at the scene. The sheriff says the killer, armed with a handgun, fled on foot and he was tracked down about a mile away from the store, with deputies shooting and killing him. It is unclear if the fatal shooting will be investigated as possible hate crime, though San Bernardino's County Supervisor Don Roy called the incident a senseless act of hate and violence. Laura is survived by her husband of 28 years and 9 children. It's so many hate crimes that's been going on, and it's not even feeling safe anymore. So many things have been happening where I'm kind of feeling a little afraid, but and in most cases, I'm like, why feel afraid? We passed this stuff already. Why is we going back to this time again? So I'm at this moment in my life, I'm embracing it, just to making sure people that don't hide it anymore. Like, we passed this, and we need to fight and stick together right now.
This is awful. This is plain awful. You know, this is hate. This is right-wing rhetoric. This is all that stuff that's being spewed to the masses that people listen, right? And I'm afraid to start counting every single time we've lost somebody, right, to this kind of hate. This woman was married for 28 years. She had 9 children. She was 60 years old, okay? And her biggest flaw in life was being an ally to the LGBTQ plus community. It's a super sad day. It really is. And it's scary. It's really scary.
The best part of the story is he's dead.
Yeah.
Which he should have been dead before this ever occurred. Like, what I don't understand is taking out your beliefs and frustrations out on others instead of, you know, that's something that you need to sit with yourself, and suicide is an option for you guys. I'm just going to say that.
You know, I'm extremely sad in that, while I understand what you're saying, it will not provide 1 ounce of comfort to 9 children.
No.
Yeah. Or to the husband.
A husband of a woman whose activism said, you know, I just stand with a community that has faced a lot since the Stonewall riots and the creation of a rainbow flag in the 70s. And the creation of the rainbow flag is only designed to say, I stand with this community as a representation of what the community is all about, a rainbow and hope and faith, and it cost her her life.
Because it's a creation of space, and where people who haven't been oppressed now feel oppressed by space being taken up in their so-called America.
Yeah.
That was intentional. But and the rainbow flag really does represent something, because when we see it, when I go out of town, when I'm traveling, when I see the flag, I'm like, oh, okay, all right.
I'm okay.
We safe right now.
Okay, I'm all right right now. The same as my skin color. When I enter into certain black places, I'm like, oh. Okay.
You see a Confederate flag flying, you're like, shit, where am I?
Yes. No, it's time to go.
Yes.
It is time to go. And when they now see a Pan-African flag, a rainbow flag, a trans flag, it's
Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter. It's now a symbol of, oh, y'all taking up space. Y'all taking up too much space. And we must rid you of that space.
Yeah.
Which
I hate your observation. And I hate your observation because it makes me very sad that I have never been any place in my life where I felt safer because I saw a rainbow flag. Opposite of the observation that you make. I have never had that experience. But I realize when I hear that explanation that I am moving in a circle of places where I don't have to fear where I'm at. And that is privilege. That is the quintessential definition of privilege. I've talked about privilege issues for me and those in our community that don't have that same privilege of women, Latino, Black, faith diversity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That makes me very sad. The other thing that I would say is what really additionally makes me sad is my representation of privilege has lots of blood on our hands. Because the radical evangelical preacher, the radical GOP governor, the radical GOP senator, the radical National Rifle Association executive director, they all have one thing in common. They look like me.
Yeah.
Gender and age and color. And we have blood on our hands when a mother in Lake Arrowhead, California, who is a cisgendered straight woman with 9 children, is murdered because Fox News has told them over and over again exactly what you just said. They're taking something from you. I'll stop that. Bam. I will shoot her. That's where our world has moved to. And it makes me very, very sad because what my face represents is what's causing this, not your faces. It's very sad.
Ooh. Next, let's queer up gay culture. Equality Florida launches Parenting with Pride program to support parents of LGBTQ plus kids.
Right-wing groups like Moms for Liberty continue to be a powerful political force in Florida, winning school board seats and influencing changes in state law, but a new group aiming to push back.
For years, parents and families just like the ones behind me have been under assault.
In its latest effort to bolster marginalized communities, Equality Florida creating a new program.
Today, arm in arm with numerous incredible partners, we are launching the Parenting with Pride program.
Aimed at helping parents, students, and educators, Parenting with Pride is a grassroots effort to influence Florida's ed laws. With over 1,000 families already on board, they hope to ditch new restrictions on LGBTQ plus education.
My son deserves to be able to share his family life with his peers, and his teachers should be able to support him without fear of losing their jobs.
A coalition of organizations serving families and parents in Florida has come together to launch Equality Florida's new statewide program, Parenting with Pride. The goal is to create a hub of resources for queer families to know their rights, to have access to support and resources, and to combat harmful laws that affect them in the state. Launched at the beginning of the school year, the program is poised to significantly impact Florida's classrooms as new laws and policies are implemented. Laws and policies such as the expansion of Republican Governor Ron DeSantis' controversial Don't Say Gay law, attacks on advanced placement classes and Black history classes, limiting access to restrooms and lockers for transgender and non-binary students, escalating bans on books, limiting family rights to ensure their children's pronouns, among others, have led to a state of uncertainty due to the broad interpretations of the law. Because of the relentless policy barrage, families are seeking more information and resources than ever before. The Parenting with Pride program will help these families receive support, gain knowledge and skills, and increase their advocacy skills. The program will offer required tools to everyone, from those ready to speak at school board meetings to those prepared to advocate for their children's rights at the state legislature. This is beautiful. I love it. I'm going to draw off of my own experience, coming out as, number one, I'm the oldest, and coming out as gay. And
you mean in your family?
In my family.
The children?
Yes.
Okay.
That my parents and guidance and, they didn't have the knowledge. They didn't have the language.
They weren't as smooth as you would have hoped.
And this is beautiful because I believe this is the reason why a lot of families, you don't see them out at school board meetings. You don't see them out protesting because they don't necessarily have the language that we have here at this table, or the finesse to navigate these spaces and go head to head up against, these policies and these laws. They're just as lost. They're trying to navigate with their children first, and now they're having to navigate the school, the classroom, and the government blind. So this is beautiful. I'm really happy for the education that's coming down the pipe for these people.
And we got to send some love to the parents of any LGBTQ plus folks, kids, because, it's like the first day of school in Broward County today. And I'm telling you, I prayed real hard this morning, right? To all the gods I believe in, right? Because I was just worried, the kids. The reality is, folks at this table, that if I had children, right, I would leave Florida. And I'm the kind of advocate and activist that is like, I'm going down with the ship because I'm not leaving Florida. I'm not, because I don't have children, right? So I'm going to stay here and fight with all of you. But if I did have children, I would really have to sit down and make that hard decision. And their lives would have to come before mine, and I would get the hell out of here.
To your point, I just remind viewers that are listening to FayWhat, just 2 weeks ago, a cabinet secretary in Florida, right under Governor Ron DeSantis, said publicly to all of the people that oppose what we're doing and don't say gay, you're more than welcome to leave the state of Florida. It is an orchestrated,
That's what they want.
attempt of doing exactly what they want. And so when you say, I'm going down with the ship, hopefully the ship's not going down.
Because I can't swim. There's also that.
Exactly right. You're Latino?
I can't swim. Sorry.
And the one thing that is hopeful in this is Anita Bryant. At some point, a pie is coming for this person and this group of people, including that cabinet secretary that said, get the hell out of my state. It's not your state, dude. It's all of our states. And we are stronger together of all our voices. We don't want to mute you. We don't want to say you don't have a constitutional right to speak. We just think you're completely wrong. And here's a pie in the face to prove it.
And absurd.
and absurd, right. The other thing that I want to compliment, this is genius.
Yeah.
It's genius. Your adjective is how beautiful. Mine is it's genius. First off, Moms for Liberty is a terrorist organization, a terrorist organization that was funded and helped in its creation by a single person that is running for president of the United States. And here's a little clue. He doesn't live in West Palm Beach at Mar-a-Lago. It's the other one. And as a result, Moms for Liberty have creeped in, especially in Florida, in school boards. We have one right here in Broward County, among the most progressive communities in the United States. And we have a Moms for Liberty backed school board member. What Equality Florida has done is say, you know, we should probably have a grassroots program to fight this parental rights thing. By the way, the governor says when he's asked by Time magazine that we're getting ready to report, what would happen, what's your reaction if your child turns out to be gay? We're not going to talk about that because it's my right at, oh wait, I'm getting ready to contradict myself totally in terms of what we tell every other parent in the state of Florida. Equality Florida is doing the right thing. They're reinventing the wheel of the modern challenge that we're facing in Florida, and they deserve kudos for that. Parenting with Pride, it just sings. It just completely sings.
As beautiful as Beyonce.
Exactly.
Next, we are proud of our special partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church right here in Fort Lauderdale. Supporting that partnership, we're broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine Cathedral at the Happening Out television studios. We broadcast Sunshine Cathedral Sunday International Service at 10:30 a.m.
Finish tonight's queer news headlines with a segment we call LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News.
In LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News, let's queer up South Florida and Florida. Ron DeSantis wants his kids' sexuality private while attacking other parents' children. Florida governor and Republican presidential hopeful Ron DeSantis, well known for his anti-LGBTQ plus policies, says that if one of his children turns out to be gay or transgender, that would be a personal matter between him and his wife. In an interview with Time at the Iowa State Fair published Wednesday, DeSantis also defended the anti-LGBTQ plus laws he has signed, such as the infamous Don't Say Gay law and the ban on gender-affirming procedures for trans youth. DeSantis is making his presidential campaign about his personal life to a degree. He told Time that he sees each policy through the lens of a dad.
LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News. Let's queer up hotspots. In Hotspots on Stands Now, Dr. Anthony Fauci is replaced by Out Lesbian as NIH's director. Hotspots magazine's new issue is on stands today with an exciting update from the medical world. Out Dr. Jean Marazzo has been tapped to replace Dr. Anthony Fauci as the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease at the National Institutes of Health, NIH. She will be the first openly LGBTQ plus person to take on this role. Dr. Marazzo graduated from Jefferson University Medical College in Philadelphia and later received a master's in public health at the University of Washington. She has become a leading researcher in sexually transmitted diseases. Dr. Marazzo will take on her new position this fall. For more information on this and other events, grab a free copy of the new Hotspots magazine on stands today.
LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up courts. Federal judge dismissed second challenge to Don't Say Gay law. For the second time in less than a year, a Central Florida federal judge has dismissed a lawsuit challenging 2022 state law that restricts instructions about gender identity and sexual orientation in schools. U.S. District Judge Wendy Berger on Wednesday issued a 37-page ruling rejecting a lawsuit filed by parents, students, and nonprofit group against members of the State Board of Education and the school boards in Orange and Indian River, Duval, and Palm Beach counties. Berger dismissed an early version of the lawsuit in October, though she allowed the plaintiffs to file a revised version of Berger's ruling Wednesday, including a series of issues, including her conclusion that most of the plaintiffs had not shown legal standing.
LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up the world view. Queer athlete flies pride flag at K2 Peak for 20th birthday in anti-LGBTQ plus Pakistan. A queer athlete has celebrated turning 20 by flying a pride flag near the summit of the second highest mountain on earth in a country where same-sex acts are decriminalized. He said he did it to inspire other LGBTQ plus athletes. California-based Aiden Hyman withstood intense altitude symptoms, blood clusters, and fever in order to unfurl the pride flag near the top of K2 in Pakistan. The queer athlete trekked for almost 3 weeks and celebrated his birthday on June 20th with his teammates and climbers he met in the small village of Ascoy.
LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up trans rights. International Chess Federation bans trans women. England refuses to comply. Chess skyrocketed into the media spotlight this week after the world's top chess federation, known as FIDE, said it will ban trans women from participating in women's competitions until further analysis can be done, which could take up to 2 years. The policy would also see players who held women's titles and later transitioned to male removed. But FIDE said it would possibly reinstate them if a person later changed the gender back to the original gender. But the ECF, the governing chess organization in England, announced on social media that it will not exclude trans women despite FIDE's policy.
That is today's news for the LGBT plus community on the world's first and only daily LGBT plus event news shows.
If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Are you, most of America, part of our very large television audience watching this live LGBTQ plus news broadcast right now on Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, and Amazon Fire TV?
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ plus digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support. If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world. This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ plus stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and on behalf of these LGBTQ plus reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including FayWhat, Jamaal L. Starks, and Lorenzo Davis, we will see you daily at 8 p.m. And to our LGBTQ plus world, we wish you
good night.
We are Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only live daily LGBTQ+ evening news show, brought to you from Happening Out Television Network. We operate in the same model of PBS and NPR, but for the LGBTQ+ community. We educate, inform, and entertain by supporting the 10 pillars of our LGBTQ+ community, with more than 100,000 a week watching us on Roku, Apple Television, and other channels. To keep the story going, we accept donations with 100% transparency. Stay updated and live authentically with Queer News Tonight.